Hello and welcome to ScreenHour with me, Kieran.
And me, Mikey.
And this episode, this one's been a long time coming because someone wanted to see every single aspect of the game and see what it had to offer. But we are finally going to do Horizon Forbidden West.
We're very aware the game came out very late February, earlier March, but we both didn't get our hands on it until it was about 2 months ago. And then I finished it literally a week and a half ago. And as Kieran said, it's because between life in general and I just really went for it. And I think that really gives an impression of how much I enjoyed it. But I played a lot of side quests and got really into it.
Yeah, and to be fair, I mean, I ended up postponing this by another 2 weeks because I ended up getting COVID, which was great. I had a great time. I really didn't. It was horrible. I do not recommend getting it. It's the worst time of my life ever. I was sleeping in towels because I was just sweating so much and the muscle spasms and muscle aches and pains. It's not a good way to live. I don't recommend it. But we're finally getting to it now. And yeah, I don't really know how to start this without simply saying it is brilliant.
It is brilliant. I've generally, my overall view is that it's a beautiful RPG with, great combat encounters and, it's a refreshing setting. I think the setting it's done really well. I like the idea of it being a sci-fi setting, but it's also simultaneously prehistoric. Yeah, it's old world. And, if you explain that to anybody, it's that's interesting in itself.
Yeah, because I very much vibe with steampunk, so the whole sort of 1800s sort of setting and style, but then you've got that sort of new age technology sort of thing. I love that art style, and this sort of very much fits that sort of category for me of being sort of the prehistoric world, running around with bows and arrows and spears, right? But then you've also got the technological aspect, such as the focus and then the old world technology, which
the machines itself,
the machines themselves, which it's if you don't know anything about Horizon, you see the machines of this is a game about robot dinosaurs. Yes, but also no.
Yes and no. Yeah. But as the meme says, with the pirate, yes, but no. It's there's a lot to it, but also you don't have to delve that deep into it. Before I started playing Forbidden West, I thought to myself it had been years since, because the Horizon came out in 2017, obviously, so it's 5 years later.
Zero Dawn.
Yeah, and so I hadn't played it since then. I think I played it in the tail end of 2017, probably 2018, something. Maybe.
So I played it when it pretty much first came out because I was really interested in playing it. I think I played it, maybe not day one, but I definitely played it within the first month, I think. I was going to say week, but no, I'm going to have stuff off, say first month.
Because that's how I played it. I borrowed the disc off you.
Yeah, you did.
A couple of months later after you'd completed it.
Yeah, and then after you completed it, I think maybe a year or so later, I jumped back into it again because I was I'm fancying playing a good RPG. And then I was wait, I'll play Horizon, see if that still stands up, sort of thing, a year later. And it still stands up now, 5 years later. So
yeah,
it's definitely, if you haven't played Zero Dawn, but you have played Forbidden West, it's still a brilliant game.
Yeah, so for whatever reason, you type, we're fully aware, Horizon Zero Dawn, even Horizon Forbidden West, even now, months later after it's came out, it's an expensive game, especially on PS5.
Well, you can only get it on PS5, but...
No, I think...
Well, PS4,
you can get it on PS4.
Yeah.
But, up here, there's 10 quid difference. For what it's worth, we got it on PS4, we both got it on PS5, but what you can do is cheat and save yourself a tenner, apparently, is buy it on disc for PS4 and you get a free upgrade for PS5.
Yeah.
But there you go. As we were saying, get Zero Dawn if you fancy playing that before, because I'm pretty sure it's literally 20 quid less than that.
Not just that, if you've got PlayStation Extra,
it's probably free.
It's free. It's on
free on
PlayStation.
there. So there we are.
PlayStation Extra.
What? The Forbidden West is?
No, Zero Dawn.
Zero Dawn. But it's great. But on top of that is what I was saying about the story is if you really wanted to, you could watch her I think Eurogame have done a 40 odd minute or even a really in-depth review and catch-up of why the Horizon Zero Dawn, like, and Horizon itself, the environment has turned to what it is, why it's like gone back to like prehistoric times, the sci-fi times, and it like is a really good setting and catch-up of that. And I watched quite a lot of that, but I remembered bits of it, so I didn't watch the whole 40-odd minute video. But you can. There is a lot of lore there. It's a good RPG game, so it's probably not as in depth as Cyberpunk, I'd say, but the lore is still really interesting, and you don't have to connect with it. You don't have to know every facet of every CEO which was on the, the ship for the lore for the story itself.
Yeah, you don't need to understand every intricate detail.
You can if you want. You can go into intricate detail, but that's what it's really good about it, I'd find.
Yeah. You get out as much as you want to get out,
and it's not convoluted. That's what I'm saying as well. Is that
it's not overcomplicated.
It's not overcomplicated the main story, and to go back to comparing it to the original Zero Dawn, you play Zero Dawn and you think to yourself, there's little niggly things about it. Looking back, and this is to praise Forbidden West. Is that, for example, the archery in Zero Dawn's great. The combat is great in Zero Dawn. But in this, the melee combat's also good. So the melee combat was letting it down in a bit in the Zero Dawn. It was literally just strong hit, I'm pretty sure, or light hit or whatever. But
light and strong.
Light and strong. There was no real combos. There wasn't the resonator build up, which is quite a cool aspect they've got in the new Forbidden West. And then on top of that, there wasn't as many side objectives, I don't think, and they weren't as interesting. There is definitely side objectives in Zero Dawn, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
They are cool, but I feel like they weren't as rewarding.
Yeah, they weren't as fleshed out.
They weren't as fleshed
sort
out.
of like just extra bit of content for the sake of padding out the game as such.
The skill trees, it's an actual tree now, where I feel like before, if you want to call it a skill tree, it was just a branch.
Yeah.
You could go through now in the new one in Forbidden West. You can get all the skills if you complete all the side quests in the game or whatever.
You need to 100% complete the game to get all the skills. And with the recent update, you can now finally respec.
Yeah.
So if you fucked it up somewhere along the line and brought something you didn't need because you realise it's an ability you'd never use, you kind of lost it. But now with this update, this update's probably been out 2 months now or something. I don't know. But you can now respec and stuff. But there's just the main difference between Zero Dawn and Forbidden West is quality of life changes, because the core gameplay, the core story, everything itself is brilliant. The games are indistinguishable between which one I prefer for story. I feel like they're both really good hitters. It's just for playability, obviously the new one's better because of the quality of life changes.
And it's probably because we're not saying because it's a PS5 first party game, but it is stunning. It's stunning, and the sound design is great. More so with RPGs, and I do play. I use my Steel Series headset a lot, but in that, there's a lot of nice scores, especially the theme, Aloy's theme and stuff like that. And it sounds quite therapeutic and relaxing, and it can, when needed to as well, when it is intense and it sounds quite brutal as well. But the lighting's done really well, the draw distance, especially when you're on the mountains, and there's certain bits and Kieran will understand what I'm getting at now. Later on, in the last hour and a half of the game, you unlock a thing, and that is a really good way. And we discussed that in a bit, a really good way of you seeing the world.
Yeah, for all its glory.
And for all its glory, and that's beautiful. I definitely recommend it. And another good thing about it is despite us saying how expensive the game is. So, as Kieran said, it took me a while to complete it, but that's a good thing in itself. You could sink
hours,
I'd guess, and say easy 35, 40 hours I've put into it.
Mine's 45 hours.
Yeah, so if you put 45 hours, I reckon I've put 50 hours into it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I know for a fact, and this isn't spoilers, one of my favourite aspects of the game and I've done this a lot, is the arena.
Yeah,
so I
you sunk a lot of time into that.
So I basically done all of the arena apart from the expert thing. So the arena is, you go in there and you've just got to kill machines. Like, number one, you've got to stay alive to kill them. You do it in a certain amount of time, you get these medals. And the medals are ways for you to get some of the best gear in the game, like the best armour in the game, the best bows in the game. And like being me, whenever I start getting into an RPG a lot, I look into the best stuff to get and the best armour and whatever.
How to sweat the game.
How to sweat the game, and that's one of the ways I enjoy getting into a game. And the arena is the best way to do that. And the arena is fun as well because it's hard, it's challenging.
Yeah.
And like, honestly, if anybody says like, "Oh, I got any tips from me," I'd say, because the arena like builds up in challenges, so you can probably start the arena when you unlock it, and then do the first section, and then if you sweat the first section, get like the best scores to get the medals, you could probably just do the first section a bit. You can unlock one of the best bows in the game.
But the thing is, to unlock the arena, you basically got to complete sort of like...
You're halfway through.
40% of the game
you're 44% of the game already.
Before you even get there. I mean, that's not... You just said that's like your favourite element of the game. My actual favourite element of the game is not necessarily directed at the game. It's more PlayStation and the game. Because when I got my PlayStation 5, it came with a digital copy of Horizon Forbidden West. So it was like basically the first thing I played on the game, and it's the first sort of like...
PlayStation 4 experience.
Experience, yeah. And it's my first time playing with adaptive triggers. And the game, I mean, fortunately it's a PlayStation exclusive game, so they're going to be completely focused on the adaptive triggers and haptic feedback. But the game utilises it so well that it's hard to describe it. Because you can't even show adaptive triggers through like YouTube videos or anything like that. You literally have to hold it to understand it.
Yeah.
It's like going to the cinema and watching 4DX. You know, you need to be sat in the seat to understand how it feels and how it works. But it was just like the minute little details, such as like stabbing the spear in the door, and you feel the adaptive trigger, or like little vibrations and stuff in the triggers when you're using certain bows and stuff like that. But the thing that shocked me the most is there was a bit, I was just, fucking about, running around, and I ran underneath a waterfall, and I just felt my vibrator just do this little, like, twitching thing, and I was like, what the fuck was that? So I ran back under the waterfall, and you just have this little, like, tapping sort of vibration in the controller, and you're feeling what it was like to be under that waterfall. And literally, my mind was blown, because I was like, it's such a simple thing that if I was like a games developer, it's something that I probably would have thought of like, wouldn't that be cool? But I wouldn't know how to implement it. But the way that it's, because it doesn't sound like something that couldn't have been done on previous PlayStations. Like, they all have vibrations and stuff in the controllers and stuff before. But it's just the way it's been implemented, because it wasn't the whole controller, it was just the left side, because my character Aloy was only like half under the waterfall, so it was tapping on the left side, but when I moved to the right side, it was then tapping on the right side of the controller. So it was proper, like, I thought it was just a brilliant experience. And for all the games I've played now on the PlayStation 5 that's got like the PlayStation 5 haptic feedback and adaptive triggers, for me, it is the biggest game changer of the new generation of gaming. I think it's incredible, and I can't wait to see what they do with it next.
I think to piggyback on your point, is that it's so good that later on, when you've played it for like 5-6 hours, you don't notice it because it's so immersive. So the first couple of times, like, it blows your mind, like, especially when you, like, as you say, like, another one that comes to mind is like the first time you fight a shell snapper, which is basically a big fuck off like Blastoise, Pokemon like reference there, like, and it goes underground.
If you don't get Pokemon, it's a turtle.
Like, it comes underground and you feel it like shake up and over again. The first time that happened to me, I was like, yeah, that's cool type thing. But as you say, because it is going for like a good immersive experience, you don't clock that later on.
Yeah.
But like, it is so good, isn't it? The only like, not like this is a PS4 review, but yeah, it's game PS4. The only game which came close to using it as that one is probably the Spider-Man games for me.
With the web
swinging. but it is really good. As for the story, these are like light spoilers for like, Zero Dawn, but it's 5 years old. One of my favourite aspects of this game is that Aloy's came from a place now of that she's the saviour of Meridian.
Yeah,
and it's her dealing with that, and I think this isn't spoilers at all. It's not really detailed spoilers, but this is like her character arc / question mark. Is her learning that despite her being the clone of Elizabeth Sobek, that she can't do it on her own. She's not an island, and that she can have companions and a team, and she's got to learn to accept how to do it. And I feel like that is probably the best point of the game, and it's like that's its emotional strength, if there is one. And I think it definitely is one. I think that's like what's good about it, especially more so towards the end. But I think with that as well, she becomes a modest badass.
Well, yeah, she's very modest because she started out as like the outsider. She was shunned by society, so she's always been on her own. Yeah. So she doesn't, it's difficult for her to work with people. Like, she can work with them in the sense that she does all the work and they're the ones that like issue the quest as such. But to actually work alongside them, that's like a struggle for her because she's like, I'm always so used to just doing things my way and not having any help at all that, the emotional crux as such for this one in particular is how she works with everyone and it's her relationships that she formed with people such as Val or Erend or the Sun King of Ard, in the previous one and how that impacts her in this one. And, you can definitely see a massive character change.
Yeah, definitely.
From the last one to this game. But what I like as well is, as we've said, she's very modest. Everyone refers to her as the saviour of Meridian, but she doesn't refer to herself.
Yeah, that almost gets on her tits. Yeah, she almost doesn't like that. And like
she's like, I'm just doing my thing.
It's her wrestling that like she has the weight of the world on her shoulders.
Yeah.
But she don't revel in that. She just knows that she's got to do something about it, otherwise everybody's fucked. And it's her sharing that burden with everybody.
Yeah.
Like obviously you see it through Aloy, the protagonist. They tried to make it an RPG in the sense obviously you're playing as Aloy, but there's not really much decision making. At the very start of the game, they introduced something basically. You can have like an aggressive stance on something, an emotional stance, or like
a smart
like stance on something. That doesn't really they're not decisions as far as I know.
No, they
don't really have an impact on the narrative.
No, it's just more so for your as the
player, just to turn around and say how would you
how would you want to respond?
How would your Aloy approach it?
Yeah, how would you respond in this situation? How would you want your Aloy to respond in this situation? And you get like a dialogue shift of sort of like the attitude of how things are put across and how the NPC responds to that. Like, there's a difference there, but ultimately, by those sort of 3 minutes, it doesn't impact the story whatsoever. It's not like, why is Aloy always a dick to us? It's she's always choosing the brutish option. That's never a thing. It's just more so in that particular moment.
So, as we say, the main crux is basically her learning something out. The problem, without getting into main spoilers, which we will be doing soon, is essentially she's travelled, dare I say it, west to find out what's going on, because basically the world, the actual Earth itself, the world is in ruins, so crops aren't growing and shit like that.
Because of is it the blight?
The blight, yeah.
Is that right?
That's it, yeah. And then the machines are still they're not corrupted like they are in the first one, but they're still mental.
Yeah.
And they're still acting up. So obviously the machines were made to be their own ecosystem and run help.
So yeah, so basically the machines are the dinosaurs, if you want to call them that. The machines are basically on the planet because they were meant to be caretakers. They were meant to, after the humans died out, they were meant to help reinvigorate the world, help Mother Nature bring balance back to the Earth. But Yeah, and of course they attack the player because they are protected because they see humans as the enemy. But then obviously with everything, in anything, humans try and figure out how to override them and how to power them. And in the first one, it's not so much a big deal. It's more of, the Mother Nature's fighting back against the machines, right? But in this one, it's more to do with the technology. So as I've mentioned before, with Aloy has like a focus, which is like a thing that allows her to see old age technology or old age sort of information in her current time period, right? But these sort of focuses then now become more abundant. So like a lot of people have them, and spoilers, the people that have them are the bad guys.
Yeah.
So they're
apart
the ones
from your circle,
yeah.
If the other people who have them, as Kieran says, are the bad guys. But that's what like works well. Is like one of the ways the arena orientates the character back in it is your character Aloy gives like essentially her right hand man one, and says, "I'll let you you can learn stuff far." So he's learning that, and that's a way of like you're learning it as a player, as a tutorial.
Yeah.
And it's a good framing device for it.
Yeah, because if you hadn't played the first one, it gave you sort of an insight, not so much hand holding, but it gave you an insight to how this sort of technology works.
So one of the bad guys, or probably maybe the main bad guy from the first one, he's also gone west. And you
Silas.
Played
by Lance Riddick.
Riddick, yeah. So you're following him, and basically to track what he's doing because he's up to no good. So you got to chase him, and basically get the world back to normal as much as you can. And then there's a lot of mad stuff on the way, but we'll discuss that in a bit more in spoilers. Before we go into spoilers, one of the things I want to touch on, which I think is like a really good thing, is it's not just a pretty game, but it's diverse. The landscapes are. So you go to Vegas. Vegas is
that's a bit of a spoiler in itself, really, because it's not necessarily mentioned as Vegas. It's just a desert.
It's just a desert, but yeah. So that's cool as fuck. Some of the lighting there, and that's done really well.
But when you complete that area, that bit, because I sent you a screen grab video of it. Yeah. You need to complete this game because fucking look how beautiful this is. That bit after you complete the Las Vegas, the Poseidon area, when you go to do the Poseidon storyline, that bit when you complete that, it's incredible. Just the whole bit where you're swimming underwater, it's just fucking beautiful. It's incredible. So
exactly, I think it's diverse. You have mad beautiful bits like that, and then all of a sudden you can be on snowy mountains.
Yeah.
Then you can be in a jungle.
Yeah, and then you can be a beachside resort, you're basically in Hawaii.
Yeah, I'm really trying to before we get into spoilers, I'm really trying to think of some negative aspects, but off the top of my head, and this speaks volumes, I presume, is there's no real bad things I can think of. So the closest one I could think of, and this is more of a wish list than a negative, I'd say, is so I really like the ensemble characters. Yeah. So I like Eren, I like Zoe, I like Val, I like Katalo, I like the chick from the Queen. Can't remember what her name is. Ava. Yeah. So I like Ava. And I think what would have been cool with them, and I really like their side missions, but you could have had them going around with you doing other side missions. I don't know, that sounds contradictory, because how do you go around?
Bit more companion.
Bit more companion based, but I do like that you grow and have missions with them. But honestly can't, if I was to put a number on it, I don't know, IGN and Game Score and GameSpot and whoever to put 10s out of it, I'd honestly give it a 9 out of 10.
So I'd probably put 0.5 on that, maybe.
Yeah, I honestly thought it was great. It's my favourite game this year, without a shadow of a doubt. Pieces, I don't know, Cyberpunk came out in 2020, but pieces all over Cyberpunk and Valhalla for me. It's my favourite game.
It's
my favourite game of the year.
so much more polished than all those other.
It's a polished experience.
When you think about game releases, like, you know, in the past sort of like 5 years or so,
they've been quite janky.
Majority of games that have been released, day one, they need a patch because they're absolute ass, right? Whereas Horizon, it hasn't needed any patches. There might be a little bug here or there or something, which is kind of par for the course. There's always going to be something somewhere. But you could completely play it without internet, so it never updated. You could play it all the way through and not experience any issue.
This is probably the only reason I wouldn't give it a 10 out of 10. And I'd agree with you now, actually. Well, probably not a 9 out of 10 or 9.5. And this is a double-edged sword. Is where the story ends and the narrative ends. It's very clear, and this is a good thing because you want more because it was a great game. It's very clear it's the second one out of a trilogy.
Yeah.
Of a game. Like, the way the story finishes, it's not a definitive. I don't want to get in spoilers now, but we will do. It's very clear that another one will be on its way.
The only reason for me it's not a 10 is because I put the first one as a 10. Because I think I personally prefer the story of the first one to the second one. More so because it's an understanding. The first one's more of an understanding, like, not just Aloy, the character, but you yourself are trying to understand this world. Who is Aloy? Where did she come from?
Yeah.
How does she save Meridian, the battle for Meridian? Like, I loved all of that gameplay. Whereas the second one, it's more of trying to save the world rather than trying to understand who she is, because she's already aware of who she is. I found Aloy, she's trying to get a bit more information.
I found Aloy more boring in the first one. And it doesn't mean like she's a crap character at all, but I prefer her in this one.
I mean, she's
more sure of herself.
The character arc is a lot better. I 100% agree, a lot better in this one. But story-wise, for me, the first one's better. But it's, like I said, it's 0.5 of a mark difference. They can't both be 10s. One of them's got to be better than the other. So, yeah, I mean, for the whole gameplay and everything aspects, like, the Forbidden West is better. But for me, the story, I felt just a little bit sharper in the first one. More interesting for me personally. It's interchangeable for anyone.
It's the best archery in any game. Best combat archery in any game. Easy. And then the fighting encounters between machines and like people / rebels are like great. Yeah. Especially when you've got a set piece and it involves like, so the way you kill every main machine is integrated into rather a story moment, as in a main story or a side mission. So, for instance, like, very light spoilers, but it's in the trailers and promotional material. You know, the one's called the Traumatus, which are basically a huge fucking elephant.
A mammoth.
Or a mammoth, yeah. And the way you do that, you kill one of them, is in a main mission.
Yeah.
And that's quite cool. The way you kill, like, a slaughter spine, which is basically a huge fucking dinosaur.
Slaughter spine is like a Spinosaurus.
Spinosaurus Rex.
And then what's the one that's like a T-Rex?
Thunderjaw. Thunderjaw's in the first one, but you kill the Thunderjaws quite a bit. They're still quite hard.
Yeah, you think the Thunderjaw is like the biggest one, and then you come across the what's it called again? Slaughter spine, and they're bigger again.
What I like about the game a lot is these different ways to approach combat scenarios. So something I spec'd in towards the late game, but I quite enjoyed. I've done it quite a lot, but especially towards the late game, I spec'd more into it. It's trapping, and because I like to go balls to the wall, I like to have a bit quite high exciting.
Yeah.
But the trapping, if you don't use it, you fucked it, because the amount of damage you can do with like 2 good traps, especially if you spec into it. If you use an advanced trap, and like if you're always scanning your beast, seeing what it's weak to. You put an advanced acid trap on. I can't remember what's weak to acid, but a lot of things are. You can do their damage status.
That's the one I think of.
Yeah, and like Thunderjaws, you're having a good time, like, and you'll absolutely wreck it. And I like how, if you are methodical in it, especially towards like the big beasts, like if you use the Thunderjaw for example, or the snakes. So if you take off the elements, so every, because they're a robot or a machine, you take off the components,
you
stops them doing certain shit.
Yeah.
So if you take off the grinders...
They can't grind you?
They can't grind and go underground.
Yeah.
So
you can shoot off their guns, you can actually
you can't
use
shoot
their
off.
guns
You can
against
use
them.
their guns against them. So the Thunderdrill, for example, has a disc launcher. You shoot the disc launcher off with your normal arrows. You take the disc launcher, use it against it. You took off half its health. It's sick. It really rewards you, like being smart the way you attack it.
Every animal's different in how you should approach it, and there's not quite like machine learning. They're not quite like adapting to how you fight to defend you better. But there is something there, isn't it? Where sometimes if you keep shooting them with like the same arrow type, eventually they become like immune to it. They sort of, and then you got to find a new way around it.
Oh yeah, and like it's like a lot of things. You're not running out of time, but if you don't deal with it quickly and you haven't shot off the Thunderdrill's like disc launcher, or you haven't shot off the Stalker's dart grenade or like, stealth generator, you know that's longer in their account and they've got those advantages and
you're running out of resources
to
fight
like
them. The amount of times I'll be in a fight and I'm like, oh shit, I'm out of sticks. Can't make any more fucking arrows.
I have loads of sticks.
So you just gotta like throw any other ability at them.
What happens a lot is I was suffering from success in the sense that when I had like loads of the end gear game from sweating the arenas, you have like every ammo type you need stuff to create it. So you have volatile sludge creates like some of the best ammo in the game, but I'd always run out of it. So yeah, I'd hit stuff like a truck, but I'd run out of volatile sludge. I was like, fuck, and I got to go back to like first world problems, go back to basic bitch arrows or whatever. Yeah. So that would happen. One of the other like gameplay elements I like is just like Far Cry. Far Cry, I like the Far Cry series. I haven't played the new one or whatever, but you know, clearing out outposts, that's like half the fucking game.
Yeah.
Where in this, you have the rebel outposts. There isn't that many.
There's outposts, but then there's also camps.
Which I completed all the camps, and the camps are worth doing. But again, there isn't that many of them. And they are quite big.
Yeah. They're not
and they feel quite different.
They're not a 5-second job. They take a bit of a
job. And that record encourages stealth. Like, I've done plenty without stealthing them. To get into story spoilers.
Yeah, straight into spoilers then.
Yeah, this is spoiler time.
Is that going to be the thing I'm going to use now? Is like the placement every time we go into spoilers.
Spoiler time. So basically, the main bad guys, you've got a rebel thing, which is one aspect of the game, like I've just touched on briefly. They're the camps. What actress is it who plays it?
Angela Bassett.
Angela Bassett. So basically, a really good, like, you know, you got a freaking great actress playing.
And I had no idea as well. It's only when she came on scene, I was like, that voice is so familiar. Yeah. I was like, who is it? Who is it? Who is it? And when I realised who it was, I was like, she'd be the last person I'd expect to see in a video game.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
So, Angela Bassett, in the Forbidden West, it's the Tanakh, own the West, and they're a group of, like, savage warriors. They own that part of the world, type of thing. And the chief is quite a sound bloke, but he's very stern.
Hikaru.
Chief Hikaru.
Like Angela Bassett's character, what was the character called?
Regala
and Hikaru and Katalo. They are like my three favourite characters.
Yeah, Katalo's
brilliant.
Katalo's probably my favourite character. So that's one element of the story, and that does like later on meld into the development of the story. And that also like is one of the other reasons, the gameplay elements for the like rebel camps, which is quite cool, and a way of like overriding the machines. Oh, something we never touched on in like non-spoilers is cauldrons are back. And like, despite like,
you say that like they went.
Like they went. Like, yeah, cauldrons are there, and cauldrons are such a good aspect. So the first one, I got all of them. I never got all of them in this one because I think there's 5. I got most of it. But
I mean, you played this game longer than me. And you never got all the cauldrons.
No,
play the game. Literally, I got all the cauldrons.
The cauldrons are sick. They're worth doing. They are like each one's quite different.
Very different.
And the rewards you get. Oh, speaking of negative things, I think this is definitely one.
Okay, now you're going all over shop here, are you?
You're going all over shop. Is the cauldrons are definitely worth doing because it gives you such a leg up. You get a lot of skills for doing it, And it's so useful being able to take over the machine,
So
especially
the
mid-battle.
purpose of a cauldron is basically to help you override a machine so you can get them on your side. But in the first one, you just did a cauldron and it's like of a pre-programmed amount of machines you could override. Whereas now you get a sort of pre-programmed amount, but then also you have to go back to your like workshop database thing.
And that's one of my negative things. I think it's a piss take because you've got to do like a hard cauldron. Then on top of that, you've got to go hunt down the stuff to overtake it.
Well, no, because you unlock a certain amount of... Say there's like... You go to a cauldron and you unlock 10 machines, right? But you actually unlock like 7 there and then to override. But then the more challenging, like bigger ones to override, you then have to do like a further sort of resource gather to unlock them, sort of thing. So you still unlock the 10, but you actually only unlock 7.
Yeah, unlock the best ones. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's quite annoying, but it's still...
It's a bit more of a gameplay mechanic. Thank you, yeah. Just makes the game a bit longer, doesn't it?
Yeah, just fill the game out a bit more.
But talking about like the characters and stuff, like I have so many saved video clips on my console of just cutscenes from Horizon Forbidden West, because the voice acting, the animation, the art direction, the camera angles, the lighting, the music, everything was fucking superb. The only thing is, every now and again, Aloy's hair would glitch, and it'd be like, he'd just like the opponent, just be flying around. And then there was one bit when you go to the what's it called when they go to the meeting before she goes into the Forbidden West?
The embassy.
Embassy, yes. When she goes to the embassy, right, and that's when Regala first attacks.
That's a great scene. That's probably one of the best scenes in the entire game. When you get it like an hour and a half into the game, 2 hours into the game.
It's a brilliant scene. Like that's one of the scenes I saved. But there was a visual glitch in the scene. I don't know if you got it, right? But I saw
the guy just stays dead.
No. The bows and arrows are just floating in the scene. There's like a crossbow or something floating in the middle of the scene as people are getting smacked. You can only see it like if you just sort of like, wait, what's that thing floating? But you don't really pay attention to it. But then I got it and I was like, that's a bit random, but I'll just, ignore it, right? But then I saw someone else on YouTube or something, and they had the exact same bit in that scene. And I was like, oh, that must be a flaw that everyone's experiencing or something. But since you don't know what I mean, clearly, you must have had a patch or something before that, when you went to that scene. But other than that, that's like the only glitch I can think of. But that scene itself, I thought was incredible. And then another scene that I thought was incredible was when you meet Hikaru, who is the head of the Tenakth. He's just the voice actor himself. His voice is so booming and brilliant.
It brings out a lot of masculinity.
Yeah, he's like an absolute big dick player, like big dick energy. He was just his voice, and he's so commanding and endearing, and you just like you hang on every word that he has to say. But I mean, with every new game and everything that comes out, we're always obsessed with new graphics and stuff. Like when Red Dead came out, the Red Dead Redemption 2, we're all about, wow, the graphics are incredible. It's so incredible that when the horses go in the snow, their balls shrink. It's like, oh my God, it's next level graphics. But then in this, it's just like you're watching it and you forget you're watching a cinematic CGI, especially when they've got the wall paint and stuff on. They just start to look real, and you feel like you're just watching a normal film, and it's incredible. And then all of a sudden you go back and you're like, oh shit, yeah, I've got to control it now. I've got to go, fight the monster or whatever. So you forget that you're watching a game. And if you were to just like edit out all the gameplay scenes and just sort of just did all the cut scenes, it would make a fantastic movie. Because there was another scene I'm thinking of with Regala, because, I mean, we're in spoilers now, so I can mention this, but when eventually you get Regala on your side and you talk to her back at base, did you do this bit? You can easily miss it because it's not actually side.
I killed her, I did.
Oh, you killed her? Yeah. No, I spared her life. And
I thought she died all the way.
No, she came back to my base. Well, she does die when she helps you in the main mission at the end. She sacrifices herself for you to like win, basically. But she comes back to base.
In the arena at the end.
No. So in the arena, when you have the option to kill her, right? I decided not to kill her, right? And I forced her to join me in a sense, and she does. And then when you go and take down the Zeniths, right, she joins you in that whole fight to the Zeniths. And then there's a bit where there's like, I don't know if it was Slackjaws or what, Thunderjaws or something, come and attack you, and she goes to take them all on by herself, and she gives you time to escape. But the bit I'm on about, she comes back to your base, and she's down in like sort of like the server room or something like that. You know where Beta goes, and she's like in that room. She's basically in that room, and there's a good like dialogue that you can easily miss it because it's not part of any quest or whatever. It's just like if you're in the base and you run up to someone, you can talk to him and have a bit of a conversation. Yeah, and I did this with her, and it was just she was talking about why she was doing what she was doing, and you know why she now decided to side with you and help you out, and
just no fucking choice.
Yeah, but it's just that scene itself again. It's another scene that I saved to my console because it's like I want to see this scene again. It's just there were so many moments that I was watching it like I want to watch this again. I want to see this again, and I mean it's difficult sometimes with the game because it's like I want to experience these particular moments again, but I don't have 45 hours to put into this game to get to that point. You know, so it's nice being able to save those clips and so I can go back and look at them because there's so many just cutscenes that are just fantastic, like absolutely incredible. Just the way they're written, the way they're delivered, the way that it's been edited, the animation.
I think to go off that point on there, one of my favourite things about it, and it's not in reinventing the wheel for a game to have like a hub area where you meet your companions, but it's not very often where you get a hub area and one of my favourite things about it was building those friendships and relationships in the team, or doing the side companion missions, having like friendships with them and like building them up and having a good laugh with them and seeing what their aspects of their character are. So for instance, one of my favourite characters is Katato, and I liked, and this sounds really weird and like quite sweating and funny, but he mentioned he wanted to build his new arm with like the Zeniths tech. Or the Zeniths. It's probably the Zeniths actually.
It's a Zenith tech, yeah.
The Zenith tech. And I'm like, oh, does that mean if I help him get his arm then, for the rest of the game,
he's going to have an arm.
He's going to have an arm, and in all the cutscenes he'll have an arm.
Yeah.
And I thought, that'd be cool as fuck. And to be fair, he don't. But it explains story-wise.
Because of honour.
Why you don't, and because of like honour, and because of what he's been through, and like he feels like quite. And what I like about his character is, he's quite like masculine and like beefy and warrior, but like he's quite endearing and he shows his vulnerable side.
Yeah.
And like he's quite a cool character, and he's quite funny as well.
It's more so when you
do
I can't remember what the area is or what the mission's called, but when you go to that place and you need to convince them to go do something.
The Sky Clan, yeah.
Sky Clan, yeah. You need to convince them to come to the embassy or come to something or other.
Become a marshal.
That's it. Yeah, send marshals. That's it. So join the marshals. That itself, just the whole marshal concept, I really enjoyed that. Like to help fight with Hikaru as part of the Thanax, and it was just that bit where you got to convince them like we're safe behind our wall, and then you got to blow up the wall, and Katala's like, that guy is not going to bother, with us anymore, and because I'm maimed, because I've lost my arm, they're not gonna respect me, and Aloy's like, fuck them. We're going to get respect, and you know how I'm going to do it? He says he's not going to help us because they're behind this wall, so let's get rid of this fucking wall.
Blow his wall.
Right, and that's what's great about Aloy, is like she just doesn't take no for an answer. She's like, she listens to what they have to say, and you're like, okay, where's that loophole in what they said? He said he would not help us out, providing they were safe behind that wall. If we remove that wall, then no longer something safe behind it. And she just uses that against them, and she does that like throughout, just in many different forms, because she's absolute balls to the wall. She doesn't give a shit. She's
there is
like,
a lot of interesting characters in it, yeah.
It's typically against males as well, not to be the whole sort of feminist action game or whatever like that. But, there's sort of like, not necessarily a toxic masculine character, but it's like, we're
quite patronising towards her, low-key.
Yeah. And she's like, you know what? Fuck you. All right. She's like, there are bigger problems than your own little bullshit squabbles. Stop comparing dicks and help me out.
And that's essentially like, she doesn't say, essentially like that's what she does metaphorically. what I like about that is their interactions between random characters. None of them are like mega boring. Like even they're just characters randomly in the world.
Like even
So
NPCs that have one line with, it's an important one line.
Yeah.
You know, it's necessary for.
I looked
direction.
into one of the best pieces in the Harmony game. It's like quite hard to get because like again this like one of the reasons it took me a while to complete, but because it was fun, and I thought it'd be a good aspect to talk about is the salvage contracts. So every like main part of the story or like gameplay like avenue to go down. So like I know like to be fair, I didn't do this, but I know you've got the races when you can do it on the chargers. If you do all of them, you get a legendary warrior bow. If you collect all the black boxes, you get like a sweet blast sting. So that's one aspect of it. And then if you do all the salvage contracts like I am, you get this sweet like melee armor. And it's cool as fuck, like it looks boss, but it like takes a while to get it because you've got to do all 4 salvage contracts, and each one probably takes like an hour to do. Well, probably about 45 minutes to do. So each like salvage contract person. Because you have each their little one, and then you're going to do it. And what's cool about it is it's quite tested because a lot of it requires removing components off certain machines. So you can't just go it.
You can't like blammo the machine.
You can't just blammo the machine because, as a rule in the entire game, if you need a component off a machine, you can't just throw some explosive at it, kill the machine straight away, and click it. The components got to come off the machine, tear it off while it's alive.
Yeah, it needs to be like a clean takeoff, so it's like not damaged or anything.
So it's
like
not damaged. So they're really fun, and that's what I like about it. So I've done that. I didn't do the hunting arenas, done just the more arenas.
Mm.
One of my favourite aspects, talking more about like the actual main crux of the story, the Zeniths come into the game probably about 2 hours in, I'd say. Yeah, probably like less than probably 2-3 hours in.
No, not 2 hours in, because the prologue itself, before you go on the big lift down into the land, that's probably like an hour and a half.
Yeah, you're about right, actually.
No, so I think when you say the Zeniths come in, you mean when you're in that
Gerard
cool
rocks up and wrecks you.
Yeah, no, that's not 2 hours in. That's a good sort of like 10 hours, 12 hours.
Not the cauldron. No, the when Val rescues you and you're in the water.
Yeah, that's a lot later.
Yeah, it's probably maybe 5 hours in then. Maybe about 6.
I'll argue more than that, but all right, that's not the point.
That's not the point. So they come into it, and they're good, as in like the dicks, like, but they're such a good element of the story. And like one of my favourite aspects of the story is that when humans get complacent, they become dicks, and like rich people can be dicks. And you're like, we're not politics. We're not going to become like a news podcast, like, but it's very scary how Jeff Bezos could be one of these like Zeniths, or fucking Elon Musk could be, or whoever, like
Rishi Sunak.
Rishi Sunak. Well, yeah, exactly. Like these people who are out of touch because they're so minted and like they're like smart or whatever.
Smart.
Yeah, exactly. That could be up to debate.
Opportunistic.
But, like, opportunistic, and they look at like general people as cattle. That's what it makes it clear that that could happen, and people come out of touch. So they're cool when they rock up, and they're so arrogant, but they're powerful. And like their interactions with them are always like less is more with those characters, I feel, because every time they rock up, something big happens. The first time you see them is when they like wreck you. You have that big fight with Gerard, and you're like, "What? Who the fuck are these guys?"
You just don't know how to fight it.
You just don't know how to fight them. You just try
I
to
was
stay
trying
alive.
so hard, and I was like, "Wait, maybe I just need to actually die here because that needs to."
Yeah, maybe I should just do what the game's telling me as opposed to killing him.
Yeah.
So that's quite cool. And then the second time you see him, I think, don't quite remember if it's the second time or not, but like basically one of the other times you see him is when you get like when you meet Beta, and Beta is such it's smart way because you think, oh, this is a stupid gimmick. Clone's always a crap gimmick, like it's like the sci-fi trope which has been done a million times. But what's really cool about it is that it shows it's like despite clones not being nature, it shows that the environment and like Rost bringing her up and like her being an outcast has shown that she's courageous.
Yeah.
And like
how different
how different your upbringing is compared to like your clone, because genetically, like Beta brings it up in like one of the arguments, says that I have the potential to be like you. I'm not courageous, whatever. Like spoilers in the end, like Beta becomes courageous, Like, she got grew.
Not on the level of Aloy, though.
Not on the level of Aloy.
She builds confidence in herself, but that's because of the input of Aloy. She needs that.
And they're bonding, and there's being like, she, like, especially towards the end, like, she says, "Oh, she's my sister," and whatever. Despite, like, they have their ups and downs. Like, she's like really frustrated with her because she's not like, she's just, you know, she's got PTSD, and you can imagine that because she's imprisoned. But like, that's a good emotional crux of it. I like Erend. Erend is cool.
Yeah. I wasn't quite keen on Erend in the first game, to be honest, because I was always like, oh, he just wants a piece of Aloy. He just wants a piece of Aloy.
But I like how, like, in the end, like...
But in this one, he seemed a lot more muted, I felt. It was a
I tell you what I liked about it. I liked, like, despite Aloy being, like, badass, and she's cool, and she's hot, or whatever, people, like...
For a game character.
Yeah.
For a bit of animation.
A lot of, like, characters within it try to, like, cop off with you, and they flirt with you. And usually this is a strength to go, excuse me, of, like, romancing options. But there isn't any.
No.
And the reason I like it, I don't know if it's because, like, you can make the argument, oh, she's asexual or whatever, but I honestly feel like it's because...
There's bigger problems.
Yeah, there's bigger fish to fry. Like, the world's going to fucking blow up. You got these people from, like, these dickheads from the past who are, like, essentially aliens. Trying to, like, convert the world.
You could argue that the Far Zeniths are a bit of a stretch too far, you know, for the sort of purposes of the story. You know, why do we need to know about them, and why isn't it just protecting the planet is more of an important goal, right? But I actually really like the story behind it from Gaia, how she explains who the Far Zeniths are and where they've come from, and who, you know, how they ended up to be where they are. You know, they were meant to be travelling to another world to live, but they didn't actually get there, and then they turn back and come, you know. Yeah. So I really liked the way that story built up. I mean, I can't fully remember everything that was said, but I actually saved the clip where Gaia was explaining it all, because I was like, I need to listen to this again, because this is just really fucking interesting.
Carry-On Moss is face turn, then heel turn within 3 hours of the game is great. Yeah. And you see, like,
you can't,
despite it being 3 hours into the 3 hours, like you say, it's not rushed, as you say, because it feeds into, like, you see why she'd do it. And that boss battle's quite... I didn't find it that hard, because I've, like, sweated it, the arena, got some gold fucking shit. I was like, wee, just blasting it. I was having a good time. But I thought that was really cool. I liked Silence staying at the end.
I like Silent's character as well, because he's, like, you can't trust him, but at the same time, your goals are aligned.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting dynamic that, especially at the end of the first one, it was like, oh, we're best buds, and at the beginning of the first one, he's fucked you off and he's doing his own thing, and you've got to try and hunt him down and find him, and, you know, it's not like, oh, we're best buds now and, you know, everything will be okay because we'll work together. You need that sort of conflicting dynamic to create the story necessarily, because otherwise, if there was no dynamic between her and Silence, the game would just be a bit... You know,
yeah, I like what...
It makes the game more interesting.
What I've done in this as well is she's the smartest person in the room in most of the first one, apart from Silence. And then in this, Silence and Beta's there, and Beta's a lot smarter in the sense that, like, explaining her things which they want the Zeniths know, and the Zeniths are there.
Well, it's not so much they're smarter; it's they just have knowledge on a particular subject she wants to know more about. But I'd still argue Aloy is the smartest person in any given room.
I think it's because she's a smart warrior as well, and she's good at, like...
She's not afraid to learn from her mistakes and to better herself, whereas other people already think that they are the best version of themselves.
Yeah. The negative thing I'll say about the story is that it finishes, and, like, if there's one thing to take away from, like, when it's end credits, it's that Aloy's got a team of people now. A team of people are more experienced. This team of people are going further to find even more people, because word has got around that she helped stop a war, she killed 1 million machines or whatever. She's really badass. Her team of people are cool to stop this bigger threat they know were coming, which is more powerful than the Zeniths, because it had the Zeniths on the run. and like the Nemesis AI, which can control those more. But again, like it's the negative thing about it is that it's not very definitive. It does feel like the second one in the trilogy, but again, you know, I really enjoyed it. You really enjoyed it. The fact that you know another one's coming is a good thing.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, it makes you more excited, but as I say, it's not clean cut by no means.
I feel like Val was wasted a little bit because
I saw Val's. I didn't see Val's death coming. But I knew a death was coming because it had gone too smoothly at that point.
Yeah.
All your companions were still alive. And the reason I guessed Val to a degree was gonna die was because he'd established a relationship with Zoe.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, he's the most likeable one. He was the one who was there for you the most up until that point. Yeah. He's the one who'd drag you out of the water when you did a tiny temper and pass.
The amount of times Aloy was just ditching him because she was like so used to.
Yeah, exactly. Even at the end of the game, right at the start of the game, when you scan the spire and you get Silence's coordinates to go to the west.
She like just disappears on him.
He's like, Val's like, yeah, we go in the morning, we'll have a kip and like we'll make the journey. And he's like, yeah, crushed you. And then, spoilers, Aloy fucks off about him.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's that bond between them's quite strong. Yeah. But Val could have got used a bit more.
Yeah, exactly. I felt like he was a little bit wasted. But, you know, you can't just have every character in all the time.
Yeah. I think it's really like...
Yeah.
It's really being spoilt, like it's such a little niggly thing. Yeah. But if I had to pick something, that would be it. The thing we alluded to earlier on, saying how beautiful the game is and like seeing it in its glory, is like you say, you override things. You can have the machines on your side, and that's a really cool aspect to do, and a good skill tree to go down. To be fair, but you forcibly for a narrative moment and mechanic, you take over a sunwing, which is basically
a bird,
like a huge falcon you can ride and that's really cool. And you're flying that spoilers in the sky. And it looks great. It looks amazing, doesn't it?
Because of like, you know, the way the world has been created and drawn, and then you got like the draw distance and stuff because of like, you know, the new console and all that. So you can be flying around and you can literally see edge to edge of the map, weather dependent. So it could completely, because the whole game you are literally just running around on the ground, and then pretty much towards the end of the game, like...
I can understand why you unlock them right at the end, because it's so much quicker, it's so much easier just to get from point A to point B. And you're not allowed to use your bow on there as well.
Yeah, it's not...
because
you can't, like, mount it in a
imagine how easy it would be to kill a Thunderdor, to kill a Slaughter Spawn and I don't know, if they can't really hit you, then you can hit them.
Around. Yeah.
And also, like, there's some mad skills you get in the like Beastmaster tree, where you can like, basically do 40% extra damage while mounted. So, yeah, I'll be OP. But like, it's still great. It's awesome.
I mean, I think it's a shame that you unlock it so late.
Yeah, I think it should be... I reckon, percentage-wise, you probably unlock it in the last, like...
I think it's an hour before the end.
Yeah, you probably unlock it in the last, like, 5% of the game. Probably even, like, 2%.
Yeah,
but I think you should unlock it in the last 10% of the game, last 90%.
I feel like it is justified why it's so late to unlock, because it's not OP necessarily for combat, but it's OP for exploration. It's so useful, but it's not like I say, it's not great for combat. So it kind of makes sense. It's an odd one really, because it feels like you should be able to get it earlier, because it's, you know, to get it in the last sort of 5% when you've almost completed the entire game kind of feels a bit pointless, because you're only going to literally get like a couple of hours use out of it, because you've already completed the game, you've already sweated it to that point, so you're already, you know, on the verge of burning out from playing the game. So it feels a bit late, but then it feels at the right time. But it's, again, that's something you couldn't do in the first game. So it's a real nice sort of change that you can not just ride like a Charger or something like that, but you can ride pretty much any machine, providing it's not like the big mammoth machines. You know.
Yeah. I think it's good.
It's a nice change.
It's a nice change. It's a nice addition.
Yeah.
This was a thing which was in the first game, but for like me, who like people like to get rid of like get sweet gear and like sweat it particularly. One of my favourite aspects is, so when you're upgrading something, you set a job for it, and the job is like basically like guides you to where to find the parts to upgrade something. So like marks on the map where you find a certain machine, or marks it on like where you find a certain animal, or whatever. Yeah. It's just so much easier to upgrade something. And it's not. You'll probably describe it as a hand holding, but it doesn't spoon feed it to you.
No.
Which is great because everybody wants to upgrade their gear in an RPG and have a better time, and have a good time, and like work towards something.
Yeah, because that's the problem. Most games, when you're like, oh, like I want to, unlock this ability or unlock this particular gear. All right, I need to go and kill this animal, loot this, do that. But you don't really know where to start, so then you go on the internet and you try and find like a guide of like, how do I do this, how do I do that? Whereas in this game, you can literally be like, oh, I need this thing, start job, like within your menu settings.
Workbench, yeah.
In the workbench, you're like, start job, and literally it just populates on the map saying, you need this, this and this, so you need to go here, here and here. So it's sort of like, it does handhold you in that sort of way, but it's not like, it doesn't take the fun out of it, of the exploration. It just sort of, it just ushers you in the direction a little bit, which is very useful.
But now, if you haven't understood it by now, you probably haven't been listening, or you've probably been doing your own.
Will you fast forward to the end?
Fast forward to the end, but yeah, I think we both don't want to speak for Kieran too much, but we both wholeheartedly recommend it.
Yeah. It's one of the best games we played for a while.
If you've got a PlayStation, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
And then in a couple of years, probably it'll be on PC. Because that's what they seem to be doing with every first-party PlayStation games, like God of War and like Spider-Man PlayStation.
Yeah, but no, definitely recommend it. I mean, it is a little pricey at the moment, but I think there are different sort of discounts and stuff out there. And if you do have disc versions, like disc consoles, you can pick up pre-owned ones in the stores for, I don't want to say next to nothing, but definitely half price.
Yeah, definitely cheap.
So
you CEX or whatever.
Yeah, so you definitely, if you don't play any other game this year, this is the one to play.
Yeah.
Without a shadow of a doubt, it is a brilliant
I
game.
can't see.
And you can sink a lot of time and energy into this. It's not too linear.
Despite us, well, we haven't played Elden Ring, but apart from Elden Ring and God of War Ragnarok, which is yet to come out, obviously, I can't see having another RPG as good as this for the PlayStation. I can only see that, it's quite a broad statement.
In the near future.
It's quite a ballsy statement, but apart from those two, this year, I think they're going to be the rest of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, if you can afford to, if you have the time to, get it. Do yourself a favour.
My moment of the week was, Kieran stopped down for the weekend, so we've done this together. It's very rarely we do one in IRL together. But we both watched Lightyear, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, we watched it on Disney. We didn't actually
watched it on
the
Disney
cinema.
Plus. We watched it on the cinema, which is, again, Disney don't need any help promoting themselves or whatever. But I think it's absolutely sweet that it's on Disney Plus already. It's still in UK cinemas to the point where it's literally showing in our local cinemas.
Yeah.
And I says to one of our mutual friends came round, and I says, "Oh, we're going to watch Lightyear." And then he turned around and says, "Oh, well, we're just going to save a couple of pennies. We was going to go to the cinema tonight, but they decided not to." And I says, "Well, we're watching it in our living room,
watch it with us
because it's on Disney Plus. Watch it with us."
Yeah.
But it's great. It's quite emotional, and the crux of the story, I think you probably kids under the age of 10 would like it, but I don't think they'd appreciate it as much
as us. Yeah, I mean, it was definitely better than I expected it to be.
I thought it was great. Yeah.
I didn't exactly hold it in high regard at all to begin with, because the trailer, it didn't. I wasn't sold on the trailer. Plus, I was missing Tim Allen. I mean, Chris Evans, everyone says he's a brilliant guy to work with. He's a really nice guy. There's nothing bad to be said about him. And I don't have anything against him, but to me, Buzz Lightyear is Tim Allen, so I was a little, unsure about that. But the world is moving on. Tim Allen can't voice him forever, like, Tom Hanks can't voice Woody forever. So, I had to accept that reality. But the film itself, I did enjoy it. It was a bit that got on my... Yeah, the best bits were in the trailer. So, like, there would be bits happening, and then, like, the bits, like, we were all watching it, and, like, we'd laugh, or we'd be like, oh, wow, that was cool, or something. And I'm like, yeah, that bit's in the trailer. I mean, that was going to happen.
Yeah, but I think that's every film.
Yeah, I think that's my problem. Not necessarily this film, but most films now, like, all their trailers have got their best bits, such as the cat turning its head around, like, beep, boop, beep, boop, beep, boop. It's like, that bit was in the trailer, right? There was another bit, I can't remember now, but there was another bit, I actually whispered over to you, like, this will happen next. And like, wait, how did you guess that? I was like, it's in the trailer. What was that bit now?
Oh, no.
No, it doesn't matter. But yeah, it's like, it kind of spoils it when you've got those too many aspects in the trailer. That's why, like...
Funnily enough, the character, story-wise, it's probably most similar to, is not another Disney film. Unfortunately fortunately for Kieran, unfortunately for me, and if you've listened to the podcast before, is Interstellar.
Yeah.
The film it's most similar to before, and like if you just ask me, like a Disney film's gonna be most similar to like a Nolan film, you'd be like, what the hell are you on about? But yeah, that's what it's most similar to.
Yeah, with the time dilation.
It's a cute film. It's very endearing. It's quite fun.
I mean, we had a bit of a joke because it was like this film, was set in 1995 when, Andy first. This is the film that inspired Andy to buy Buzz.
I think that's quite a cool idea for
It's an interesting take, but then Dan, our mutual friend we watched it with, he put it in absolute simple layman terms. He was like, so he watched this film, right? And he was like, you know what I want to do? I want to buy Buzz Lightyear and not Socks.
Yeah, Socks the cat is like basically all the best funny moments and the cute moments come from Socks the cat.
And the fact that little Andy was watching this film and
they wrote themselves into a corner, didn't they?
Yeah, they were literally like, oh, he wants to buy Buzz Lightyear, not Socks. Who wants to buy some straight white male space ranger when you can buy a cat?
the still scenery is Socks the cat.
Yeah.
Buzz might be the protagonist, but the still scenery is Socks the cat. But yeah, it's fun. Like, you've got Disney Plus, as we say, like if you've got a good home setup, just watch it.
I've tried almost all the streaming services now, and I'm actually going to like a monthly basis between all the different ones because they're getting way too expensive. Especially now they've got Paramount that's bringing out one, and it's like, oh my god, how many different streaming services are going to be? So I've just got to the point where I'm literally like, I'm only running one streaming service at a time now. So at the moment, I'm running like a Disney train. So I'm watching everything that Disney has to offer this month, and then once I get to the end of this month, I'll cancel my contract and go with another streaming service for a month, and then just go with it like that, because I think that's the best option we have, because it's not like there's any cancellation fees or anything like that. We can just drop it in and out, and I think it's the most cost-effective way, because you're like, oh, I really want to see Witcher Season 3 or something, right? So you just basically wait until that's out on Netflix, wait until the show, with Netflix, they do pretty much release everything straight away, like you can binge it, whereas certain things like Disney or Now TV or Amazon, they do release them weekly, so just wait until it's all out, right? And then once it's all out, you can be like, all right, I'm going to apply for a month of Amazon Prime, and then you can watch all of, The Boys or something, season 4 or whatever, So I think that's the best way to go forward, because especially with like money and things at the moment, like the cost of living is just getting exponential. But you do need to watch these things as entertainment, just to, not fucking shoot your brains out.
Catch 22, really.
Yeah, so you need some escapism, and I think the best course of action is just to, just choose one a month, and if all of a sudden you're loving one, just stick with that for like 2 months or something, and then find another one. I think that's the best option to go with, really.
But
so that's
Disney
why, unfortunately, at the moment we've spoken a lot about Disney, and that's simply because I've watched a lot of Disney.
Kieran's a boy, Kieran, he's only going to afford to pay for Disney at the moment. He refuses to pay for anything. Disney shoot themselves in the foot, though, because Prey's only on Disney. Prey's already on Disney. Lightyear's already on Disney Plus.
But why isn't Thor? Why isn't Spider-Man now?
Because that's making too much money.
Yeah.
Still making them money. Which, like, again, like, despite it being on Disney, Lightyear's definitely worth watch. So yeah, I'd recommend that. It's quite fun, like. As usual, thank you for listening.
Yeah, we appreciate you guys listening in.
Give us some feedback, you sexy bitches.
Yeah.
Positive or negative.
Let us know how you feel.
Especially on YouTube, you know, it's quite, you know, at the risk of being very bossy and commanding, it's quite easy to give feedback on YouTube with the comment section. But thank you for listening. Give it a share on your social medias, you know, just copy that link or whatever.
Yeah, follow, like, subscribe, all that jazz.
But thank you very much.
Yeah, we appreciate everyone listening in. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and yeah, if you were on the fence about Horizon Forbidden West or even Horizon Zero Dawn, we 100% recommend them. Give them a go. But yeah, we'll catch you in the next one.
Have a good time.
Bye.